Today we're going to do equations. As mentioned, I'm going to do a quick introduction and then I'm going to move on to the medium short way and the short way. Okay, so equations is something with an equal to sign. Equations has an equal to sign. If it doesn't have an equal to sign, it's an expression. Okay, so we can solve them using inspection. And you guys are pretty used to this. You've been doing it all your life, even though you haven't necessarily thought about it that way. So the goal is to find a solution for the variable, in this case x, that will make the left-hand side, which we shorten to LHS, equal to the right-hand side, which we shorten to RHS. Okay, so for example, 2x minus 1 is equal to 3. Now, the only thing that will make this true is if x is equal to 2. Because if we look at the left-hand side and we plug in 2 in the place of x, then we have 2 times 2, which is 4, minus 1, which is 3, and 3 was the right-hand side. Okay, so it's only true if x is equal to 2. If x is equal to 4, for example, then we have 8 minus 1, which is 7, which is not 3, so this isn't true anymore. So we only have one solution, and that solution is x equal to 2. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about that? Okay. So boys, you can practice this with exercise 1 on page 96 and exercise 2 on page 97. If you have any questions about it, of course, you're welcome to ask me or ask your teacher, depending on whose class you're in. Okay, so over here, I'm just going to do a few examples, and all of this we're doing by inspection. So a number divided by 3 gives me 6. What is that number? What is the solution for x here? What must my number be? So boys, this is very similar to in primary school, you had a number over 3 equals 6, and then you have to fill in that number, right? So that number is going to be 18, okay? It's 18. If you are unsure, if you don't want to raise your hand or don't want to let's see, there's the chat. Okay, yes. So apologies, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but you did get the answer correct. Okay, now over here, you have 16 divided by something will give us 2. Now, what is that something? You can use the chat or raise your hand. It is 8. All right, so that number must be 8 because 16 divided by 8 gives us 2. Okay. And here we have 3 times a certain number plus 2 will give us 11. Okay, now we need to think. 3 times a number plus 2 will give us 11. Can anybody tell me what that number will be? Yes, Tavish, you have it correct. That is 3. X will be equal to 3. Okay, because 3 times 3 plus 2 is equal to 11. Okay, that's 9 plus 2, and that is equal to 11. That means that the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. Okay, if these two were not equal, let's say if we had 4, then that would be 12 plus 2, which would give us 14, which means that 4 would not be the correct solution. Okay, but that's investigation, inspection. We don't want you to use inspection. We want you to be able to explain why you got the answer that you got. Okay, Now, with my boys, I'd already started this with some of your classes, with the others not yet. Okay, solving equations using the multiplicative and additive inverses. Now, your goal is to get x alone on one side. Okay, so consider 12 plus 1 and 15 minus 2. Both of these give us 13. This is the left-hand side, and this is the right-hand side, and both of them are equal to 13. That gives us 13, and that gives us 13. Okay, both sides are equal to 13. That means that they are equal to each other. Now, if we want to subtract 3 on both sides, so I take 12 plus 1 and I subtract 3. And I take 15 minus 2 and I subtract 3. Now that gives me 12 plus 1 is 13, minus 3 is 10. So that gives me 10 on this side. And then 15 minus 2 is 13, minus 3 is also 10. So they're both equal to each other. They're still 10. They're equal to each other. Or if we multiply both sides by 2. So if I take 12 plus 1 and I multiply it by 2, that's going to give me 26. And that's also going to give me 26. And you'll notice that I put invisible brackets around it. Pete, do you have a question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to switch your video off just to save some of the other boys' data. Okay. So over here, you'll see I put brackets around it because I'm taking the whole left-hand side and multiplying it by 2. Not just 12 and multiplying it by 2. I'm taking 12 plus 1 and multiplying it by 2. Now both sides are equal to 26, so they are still equal. Okay, so here's your rule. If you do one thing to a side of the equal to sign, you must do it to the other thing, to the other side. Okay, this is what we call the balancing method. We balance the two sides. Okay, so for example, over here, I want to get x alone. So I'm going to leave x where it is. I have 5 plus x on this side, and I have 12 on this side. Now to get rid of the 5, I want to subtract 5 on this side because 5 minus 5 will cancel each other out. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Okay, 5 minus 5 cancel each other out. So x is now alone. And 12 minus 5 is equal to 7. So x is equal to 7. And we can check this. We don't have to, but we can. If we say 5 plus and in the place of x7, that does give us 12. Therefore, we have the right solution because this is now left-hand side equal to right-hand side. Okay. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, you're welcome to raise your hand, okay, or send them in the chat. Okay. So, for example, over here, we have x minus 2 equal to 20. Left-hand side equal to right-hand side, and we're trying to find a solution for x that will work, that will make these two equal to each other. Now we can do it through inspection. You don't have to do this middle step. You can do it through inspection. But what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, minus 2. I want to get rid of minus 2. The opposite of minus 2 is plus 2, and they will cancel each other out. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I need to plus 2 on that side as well. Minus 2 and plus 2 cancel each other out. So I'm left with x equal to 22. And yes, you can check it. I'm not going to, but if you want to, you're welcome to. Okay. But if you are going to check at the end of a test so that it doesn't waste your time. Okay. So over here, you guys agree with me that this 3x is multiplied, right? 3x equal to 24 is 3 times x equal to 24. Now to get rid of times x, I want to do the opposite of multiply, and that is divide. So I'm going to divide. And I want to get rid of the 3. So I'm going to divide by 3. But what I do to one side, I have to do on the other. Okay. The 3 divided by 3, they cancel each other out. So we're just left with x, and 24 divided by 3. And if you, like me today, and your calculator in your brain is not working, you can use your calculator next to you. Okay, that's going to give you 8. Okay. Similarly, on this side, we have a number divided by 6 equal to 4. We want to do the opposite of divide by 6. So we're going to multiply by 6. But what I do on one side, I have to do on the other. Okay, and just to make it clear why these 6's cancel out. Remember, 6 is the same as 6 over 1, right? So we cross cancel the 6's, they can cancel out, and we're just left with x on this side. And then 4 times 6 gives us 24. Okay, so now you can actually show your teacher, I'm not just inspecting, I'm actually doing something. Okay, I'm figuring it out. So let's do some more advanced examples of this type. We want to get x alone. So remember that. We have 4 plus 2x and 12 on this side. Okay, we want to get rid of the 4. Okay, the 4 is easier to get rid of. So we're going to subtract 4 on this side and subtract 4 on that side. The 4 minus 4 cancel out, and we're left with 2x. That's going to give us 12 minus 4, which is 8. Okay, now we have 2 times a number equal to 8. We're going to divide by 2. Divide by 2, because what I do on one side, I must do to the other side. And the 2 and 2 cancel each other out. So you're left with x equal to 4. And yes, you're welcome to check it. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. It doesn't look like we have questions. If you have questions, you can send them to the chat box as well. Okay. So now we have 3x minus 5 on one side and negative 17 on the other. Remember, our goal is to get x alone. X is this antisocial, doesn't want to be with anyone character. Okay, it's very grumpy. Okay, so we want to get rid of the 5. The 3 is glued to the x, so it's a little bit more difficult to get rid of it. So we're going to start by the easy one, and we're going to get rid of the 5, which is easy to get rid of. We just say plus 5. But what I do to one side, I must do to the other. Okay, and that's going to give us 5 and 5 here cancel out. That's 3x on its own equal to, and that's going to be negative 12. Okay, now I want to get rid of the 3. Now the 3 is glued to the x, it's multiplied. So we're going to have to use something stronger. We can't just subtract it. We're going to have to divide it, do the opposite of what it has already. Okay, so the 3 and 3 are going to cancel out. 3 divided by 3 cancel out. The x is left on its own. And negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. And yes, you can substitute this back in to check your answer. Your answer is correct. Okay, but again, leave the checking until later. Okay, until you're done with everything. So we have 5 equal to, let me just do this a little bit more spaced out. 5 equal to 4x plus 7. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter which side the x is on. We want to get the x alone. The x is with a plus 7. Okay. So we're gonna have to subtract 7 on that side and subtract 7 on that side. That gives me negative 2 on this side and 4x on its own because these two cancel out. By the way, boys, this dot, this 3 dotted thing, that means therefore, okay? We don't want to see two equal to signs in a line. We want to see either therefore or nothing. Okay, it's either this until your final answer or this until your final answer, but no equal to signs if there's already an equal to sign. Okay, tangent over. We have 4 times x. We want to do the opposite of times, so we're going to divide. And we want to get rid of the 4, so we're going to divide by 4. But what I do to one side, I have to do on the other. Negative 2 divided by 4 is negative a half equal to, and the 4 and 4 cancel, so that's x. Okay, now this is a completely acceptable final answer. We don't care whether the x is on the left side or the right side. But if you wanted to make it neat and tidy, you can swap them around and say, okay, but that means that x is equal to negative half. Okay, any questions, boys? All right, let's move on. By the way, boys, this you can practice on exercise 3, page 99 to 100. And then we're going to do x's on both sides now. Okay. So what if we have an x on both sides? Then what happens? Now, I want you to think of it this way. Okay. If you're in a mall and you get lost, obviously you don't want to be in a mall right now. But if you get lost in a mall and you and your friend call each other and you both start walking, okay, the odds are you'll not bump into each other. Okay. But if one person says, okay, I'm by the Edgars, I'm going to stay by the Edgars, and I'm going to like sit here and wait for you, and the other person goes to them, then the odds are that you will meet up, right? Okay. So one X needs to stay where it is, and the other one will go to it. The same way with the 2 and the 6. Okay. One number will stay where it is, the other number will go to it. Okay, so we have 5x minus 2 equal to 6 plus 4x. Okay. Now, I want my x on the left-hand side, so I'm going to get rid of the 2. I'm going to say plus 2, but what I do to one side, I must do to the other. Okay. So this negative 2 and 2 cancel out, so we're left with 5x on this side. And now we have 6 plus 2, which is 8, plus 4x on that side. Okay, great. We're getting somewhere. But now we don't want this x on the right side. Okay, we want all the x's on this side and all the numbers on this side. So we want to get rid of this 4x. So we're going to subtract 4x, but what I do on one side, I must do on the other. Okay. 5x minus 4x is equal to 1x, and it's okay if you write the 1, you don't have to, but you can. Okay, and plus 4x minus 4x cancel out, so 1x is equal to 8, so x is equal to 8. Any questions about that? Okay. Pete, where did I lose you? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which part confuses you?
Ma'am, it's the second step.
This step.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm gonna just go through it one more time and see if that helps. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So we have x's on both sides. So the first thing I need to do is decide which side I want my x's. Okay. I want my x on the left side. So first I want to get everything on this side alone. Okay. I want my 5x alone. So I'm going to kick the -2 over. I'm going to cancel it. -2 plus 2. But what I do on one side, I must do on the other, right? And now I have like terms, 6 plus 2. So I'm going to simplify that, okay? And I have 8 and then plus 4x. But I don't want the 4x on this side. I want it on that side. Okay, now to do that, I'm going to get rid of it on this side. I'm going to say, okay, minus 4x. Okay, because 4x and negative 4x will cancel out. But what I do on one side, I must do on the other. Now I have 5x minus 4x. That's going to give me 1x. And on this side, that 8 just stayed where it was. So, Pete, did that help?
Yes, ma'am, it did help.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so boys, I'm going to do another example like this. And there are actually two methods for this one. But there are actually two methods for any question like this, so don't worry. Okay, so we have 3x minus 7 equal to 5x plus 2. Okay. Now, I want to get rid of the -7 because I want my x's to be on this side. Okay. So I'm going to say plus 7. But what I do on one side, I must do on the other. Okay. Now I have 3x on its own here. Now 5x plus 9 on this side. Okay. Now I have decided that I want them on the left side. So I don't want any on the right-hand side. So I want to get rid of the x's on the right-hand side. And I'm going to subtract 5x to do that. But what I do on the one side, I must do on the other. Okay. 3x minus 5x gives me negative 2x. And the 5x and 5x here cancel out. Okay. But now we have a little bit of a problem. Because the x is not alone. It's with negative 2. Okay. That is multiplied to the x, so we have to divide it away. We have to divide by negative 2. But what I do on one side, I must do on the other. Okay. The negative 2 and the negative 2 cancel each other out, so we're left with x. And then 9 divided by negative 2 is just negative 9 divided by 2. Okay, it stays that way. Or if you wanted to leave it like that, that's also fine. Okay, any questions about that?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just a bit confused on how we get the +7 and we just leave the -7, the second step. I'm still struggling with that, ma'am.
Okay, so our goal is to get the x's alone. So we have -7. We want to get rid of the -7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 7 but to cancel the -7 out. But what I do to one side of an equal to, I must do to the other side. So I say +7 and +7, and that means that the -7 and +7 on that side will cancel out. Okay. So I'm balancing the two sides. I want to get rid of the -7, so I do the opposite of that. But then I must do that to the other side as well. Okay. Now, boys, this is actually the difficult way. This is the easier way. 3x minus 7 equal to 5x plus 2. Okay. Let's say I realized that the bigger x is on this side and it's going to make it easier to work on that side. Okay. So I want to get rid of the 2 instead. Okay. So I want this side's x to be alone. So I'm going to say minus 2 and minus 2 on both sides. Okay. Now I have 3x minus 9 equal to plus 2 and minus 2 cancel, so that's 5x. Okay. So we have 3x minus 9 equal to 5x on both sides. Okay. I said that I want this side to have x's and this side to have numbers. So I want to get rid of the x's on this side. So I'm going to subtract 3x to get rid of it on the left side. But what I do on one side, I must do on the other. Okay. So the 3x and the negative 3x are going to cancel. So that's negative 9 equal to 5x minus 3x is 2x. Okay. Now I still want to get the x alone. It's glued to the 2. So we have to divide the 2 away. Okay. Negative 9 divided by 2 is negative 9 over 2. And the x is alone. Do you see you get the same answer? Okay. For both sides. Okay. Boys, if you're still a little bit confused, don't worry about it. It is a little bit difficult to master, especially since I'm not giving you much time to practice it. Okay, you're going to practice this on exercise 4, page 100 to 101. Okay, but now I want to get to the shortcut, and the shortcut is actually what we want you to use. Okay, this is just to explain where the shortcut comes from. Okay. The shortcut for solving equations is the goal is to get x alone on one side. Now, let's consider this question. Okay, we want to get the x's alone to one side, right? Okay, so let's say we want the 10x to be alone. Then I'm going to add 4 on both sides. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know how to get rid of that square on the screen. Okay, so I want to get rid of the negative 4. So I'm going to add 4 on both sides. Okay, these two cancel each other out. Now I'm left with 10x. And then on this side, 12 plus 8x plus 4. Now, if you skip this step, it looks like what happened is we took the negative 4 and we kicked it over and it became plus 4, right? And that is our shortcut, to kick a number over and change its sign. Okay, so now 12 plus 4 gives me 16. Okay, and I want to get all the x's alone on one side. Okay, I don't want any x's on the right hand side, so I'm going to subtract 8x. Okay, I'm subtracting 8x, but what I do on one side, I must do on the other. And these two will cancel each other out. Now, if I skip this step, again, what it looks like is like I kicked the 8x over and it became negative. Okay, so that's our shortcut. And I'm going to show you now, this may be a little bit confusing. It's just to explain where the shortcut comes from. Okay. And then we have 10x minus 8x, which is 2x equal to 16. Divide by 2, that gives us 8. Sorry. 8 on that side. Okay, I hope that makes a little bit of sense to some of you. If it didn't make sense, don't worry about it, because I'm going to explain it again now in a short way. Okay, so when using the shortcut, think of a friend in a mall. One friend needs to stay where they are and the other one comes to find them. Okay, and if they jump over the equal to sign, they need to change. Okay, so we need to first decide on which side do we want our x's. Okay, I want the x's on the left-hand side. So I have 10x minus 4 equal to, okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this 8x over to the left-hand side. But it needs to change its sign. It was positive, so now it becomes negative. Okay, and the 12 just stays where it is. We're only working with the x's right now. Okay, so 10x minus 8x gives me 2x. And now I have 2x minus 4 equal to 12. Okay, but again, I want my x's alone on one side. So what I'm going to do, sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the -4 because I want the x alone. I'm going to take the -4 and kick it over. It's going to become +4. Okay, so now I have 2x equal to 12 plus 4 is 16. And yes, you can combine these steps together. You can say, okay, take that over, it becomes negative, so 10 minus 8 is 2. Okay, but only when you get really good at this. Okay, now I have 2x equal to 12. I want to divide the 2 away, and that's going to give me 8 equal to x. Does that make sense, boys? Do you guys have any questions?
Ma'am, why did the 8x vanish from the 12?
Because I kicked it over. If it kicks
You got-
over, it changes its sign.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Okay. Let's look at a little bit of an easier example. If I have x equal to 7 and I want to get the x alone, so I'm going to kick the -3 over and it's going to become positive. Okay. That's why it quote unquote vanishes on the left-hand side because I kicked it over. Okay. So that gives me x equal to 10. That's how your shortcut works. And you technically don't need that step once you get really good at it. Okay, similarly on this side, I want the x alone, so I'm going to kick the 5 over. Okay, and it was positive, so it now becomes negative. Okay, and that now gives me x equal to 2. I hope that makes sense to you guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. But boys, the premise of this is you want to get the x alone, so you start kicking numbers over and they change their sign. Okay. So let's have a look at something like this. Again, we want to get the x alone. So we want the 2x to stay where it is, and we want the 12 to stay where it is. Its friend is the 4. The 4 needs to come find it. So the 4 goes walking around to come find it. It was positive on this side, so it becomes negative on the other side. It's unhappy with how much it had to walk to come find the 12. Okay, so now we have 2x equal to 8. All right, and we want to get rid of the 2, so we're going to divide by 2. But what I do on one side, I must do on the other. And that leaves me with x equal to 4. Okay, I hope that makes sense, boys. And I want to reiterate, you can check this. If you start with your left-hand side and you have 4 plus 2x, and you say, okay, 4 plus 2 times, and then in place of x, we have 4, then you have 4 plus 8, which is 12, and that is equal to the right-hand side. Therefore, it's our valid solution. Okay, but you don't have to check it, especially not during the test. Okay, you can do it once you're done.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
ma'am, why didn't you -4 on both sides this time?
I did, but I'm basically skipping a step. This is 4 plus 2x and then minus 4 equal to 12 minus 4, and these two cancel out.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, that's why the shortcut is so useful. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
no problem. So let's say we want our 5x negative 5x to be there. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the negative 4x and it's going to come to it. It's going to be happy because it found its friend. Okay. And the negative 2 doesn't want to be with the x's, so it goes to the 6. Okay. So the 6 stays where it was and the 2 jumps over. Okay. You can do this in separate steps if it makes more sense to you. Okay. But it is useful to be able to do it all at once. So negative 5x plus 4x is negative 1x equal to 8. Okay, and now I just need to divide the negative 1 away on both sides. We just need x. Okay, x alone equal to negative 8. I hope that makes sense, boys. This one was a quick one. Okay, I moved really fast for it. Right, and now if we want the x's to stay on this side and the numbers to stay on that side. Okay, so I've decided that the numbers stay on the right side. So this number on the left side, sorry. This number that's on the right needs to be kicked over. It was positive, it became negative. Okay, similarly, this x on the left side needs to be kicked over to the right side. It was negative, it becomes positive. Okay, now we have negative 2 minus 6, that's negative 8, equal to negative 4 plus 5 is equal to 1. Okay, you don't need to write the 1, but you can. And that is the same as x equal to negative 8. But this is also a completely valid solution. We don't mind. Okay. Now, I'm going to see if you guys understand when I skip a little bit even more. Okay. I'm going to take the negative 1 over. It's going to jump over. Okay. Negative 1 jumping over becomes plus 1. Okay. So 2x stays on this side. And then 0 plus 1 gives me 1. Makes sense? And then divide by 2 and divide by 2. That gives me x equal to a half. I know the meeting is about to end. Okay, boys, this you can practice on exercise 5, page 101. I will make some more videos on this. Okay, I hope that helped for you guys, and have a lovely day, boys, before the meeting ends.